Joe Biden's accomplishments in 60 seconds. The American Rescue Plan was $1.9 trillion, and the reason Americans got $1,400 stimulus checks. This bill also initially cut child poverty in half. It is seen as being responsible for our economic recovery. Moving on, Joe Biden invested $1.2 trillion in revitalizing our infrastructure. This all goes to roads, bridges, more access to broadband internet, and was a much-needed investment in America. Joe Biden has invested more money than any president in U.S. history on climate change, with the goal to cut emissions in half in 2030 compared to 2005. He also rejoined the Paris Climate Accord. Joe Biden signed an executive order on gun control, strengthening background checks and promoting safe firearm storage. This was the first form of gun control in the United States in multiple decades. The CHIPS Act was another huge investment in America, focusing on manufacturing here at home, which has played a huge role in gaining jobs here in America for manufacturing. Now, with all this said, unemployment is at a 54-year low, GDP continues to surge, and we're seeing a very impressive economic recovery. And no, I didn't cover it all, but I think you get the idea. The guy's been impressive.
That's the dumbest thing you could have said! What are you, an idiot?
So I guess that's why there is such a huge divide in this country. Because what the young lad Chris calls Joe Biden's accomplishments, I would call them failures. I don't want my politicians telling me that I have to buy an electric car by 2030. I don't want my politicians infringing upon my Second Amendment rights. And I don't want my politicians spending trillions of dollars on one of these bills, labeling it the Inflation Reduction Act to fool people like young Chris and his boyfriend Harry, and then pretending it's somehow good for our economy. But I guess that's what you can expect from a paid establishment show, right? Anyway, welcome back. Thank you guys so much for joining me. So I have a fairly quick and very crazy Clown World update for you guys today, and as usual, we have very little time to waste, so let's get into it. Now, if you place your attention on the screen for a moment, so here we have a biological man who identifies as a trans woman, calls himself a transbian, which is a trans lesbian, and I would assume uses the ladies' restroom, right?
It rubs the lotion on its skin or else it gets the hose again.
Alright guys, so today's video is going to be slightly different than normal. Now, most of the time I try to keep the clips under a minute long. However, in today's video, I have several clips that are a minute and a half to 2 minutes long, but they're all fairly interesting, so it shouldn't be too bad. And we're going to start off with this fella who we've seen here on the channel before. Now, he goes to a bunch of different restaurants, and it's almost like he lures the servers into calling him sir so he can complain to their managers. Not good. This is not good. Roll it.
It looks like he's having a nice feast.
She, her.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay. It's all good.
But it was not all good.
Hi. I use she, her pronouns. I'm not sir.
Oh, so sorry.
Yeah, like it's like a knife in the heart. I did specifically ask ahead of time not to be called sir.
Excuse me, it's ma'am. It is ma'am.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go. Okay. The sweet water starts at okay.
I'm so sorry. I apologize.
It's just always like a knife. It always hurts every single time. I was wondering if there's a manager I could talk to about something that happened. Yeah, I was called sir. Oh, okay. It just really sucks every time it happens. Sorry about that. I don't need to be called ma'am. I just need to not be called sir, you know? Thank you. Did you call me sir? Hey, I just want to tell you that the person who gave me this called me sir.
What?
Called me sir.
Oh.
It's just like, it kind of just hurts a lot to get called sir.
Oh, sorry about that. Okay.
Very good. Thank you so much. No. Yeah. Thank you. I'm not a sir. Nothing like a good misgendering. It is a knife in the gut when I get called sir. I feel like I need to tell him. I need to tell him that hurt. It hurts more, though, and it's not intentional because it means like this is sir to him. I know you didn't mean it, but I'm not a sir.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay. I know you didn't mean it. It's just, it hurts. I know when people clock me, it's fine, but like it does kind of hurt. Thank you. I'm not sir.
Oh, sorry.
Not sir. Not sir. But the guy who dropped the food off, he called me sir twice in a row.
Okay. I'll kind of let him know that and GM as well.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
No offense, but you are a stupid asshole.
Now that kind of gets my blood boiling just watching it, because I would not be shocked if a few of those servers, after he went up and told their managers that they misgendered him, I wouldn't be shocked if a few of them got fired if it was some woke company that was trying to keep their ESG score up. But I like the last server who just kept calling him sir. I think at the end there he was just f***ing with him, which is good. That's exactly what I would have done, so bravo, sir. Anyway, next up. Imagine taking any kind of socioeconomic advice from this person. The comment says, socialism works. Works is in all caps. Roll it.
One of the greatest tricks the CIA ever pulled was convincing the American people that socialism doesn't work. You've probably heard it. You've probably heard people be like, socialism sounds great on paper, but it never works. This is always super interesting to me when I hear this, because I always follow it up with a follow-up question. I go, what's your metric for something working? What metric are you using for success? Because I personally have run a business on a socialist platform for the past coming up on 11 years. Everyone who works at the company gets equal pay. We don't operate on a for-profit model. We try to break even when there is profit, though. We distribute it up amongst the employees equally. And the business might fail, for sure. Businesses fail. But if it does fail, it will not be because of how payroll was distributed or because we had workplace democracy. It will be because of our need to compete on a free market system, which is a byproduct of capitalism that one business, even on a socialist platform, can't undo on its own. Competing in the free market is hard. It's an inefficiency of capitalism. And the thing is, my anecdotal life experience, it's not the only evidence we have. I like to ask people, what's your metric for success? Because all of the things we use to kind of determine if a society is healthy and functioning, things like infant mortality rates, life expectancy, literacy rates, access to housing, these are usually the things that people think make society good and functioning and healthy. But when you look at academic studies that are not heavily influenced by CIA propaganda, you find that when you look at objective data measuring those things, a pattern starts to emerge that's a little different than the narrative we're told. Here, look, I'll show you one study, but there's a lot of them like this. This one study, for example, used World Bank data. And if you don't know what the World Bank is, it's a pretty conservative neoliberal global institution. Definitely would not have data biased in favor of socialism. So this objective data used by the World Bank measured things like nutrition, infant mortality rate, child death rate, life expectancy, population, access to food supply, measures of education like adult literacy. And they use this to kind of create a numerical quality of life index. In 28 out of 30 comparisons between countries that were running with a more socialist intention or socialist leadership, we see that the socialist countries had more favorable outcomes. 28 out of 30 comparisons. That means that socialism is working better than capitalism 93% of the time.
No offense, but it sounds like some f***ing commie gobbledygook.
Yeah, I'm sorry, you'll have to forgive me, but I'm not going to take that young lady's advice on how socialism is a better system than capitalism. Anyway, next up, so here we have James. Now, James is sometimes referred to as the dollar store Dylan. Now, I think this is all theatrics right here. I think this is all just crocodile tears. I don't know what the hell's going on. Let me know what you guys think. Roll it.
I really love whales, okay? I think they're graceful. I think they're majestic. I think it gives me a lot of hope, weirdly, that they migrate hundreds and hundreds of miles just to, raise their young. I just think it's cool that they're, the biggest things on Earth. I really respect whales, and I've been feeling really sad for a lot of reasons and a little lost. And I was walking through Herald Square. Well, I an avenue over from it, and I saw this giant whale, and it made me so happy to see this huge whale. I don't know why it's here, but it's so huge and majestic, and it makes me really happy to see this whale.
I suggest you stop whining like a little bitch.
Alright, real quick, before we go any further, I want to give a huge shout out to the sponsor of today's video, and while I'm doing that, I'm going to let this clip of our old friend HogKitty loop on the screen for your viewing pleasure, of course. Now, for those of you that don't know, HogKitty is a master troll, and I'm very proud to say a fan of this channel. Anyway, today's video is being brought to us by our great friend Tiffalicious. Tiff, glad to have you back. Now, Tiffalicious has a birthday coming up on November 4th. Mine is actually November 7th. So I want to give an early birthday shout out to Tiffalicious. Tiffalicious is today's video sponsor. Now, if you'd like to sponsor the next video and help support the channel, there is a PayPal link in the description box below, and I will say your full name as a sponsor of said video unless stated otherwise by you. Alright, that's enough of HogKitty for one day. Oof.
hell is even that?
Alright, this next clip is absolutely hilarious. I thought this was parody the first time I saw it. So this black woman says that white people are inherently violent and they need to be reprogrammed because they're... Well, you can listen to her. Roll it.
White people do not inherently have empathy. And it's something that I've talked about for more than a year. And one of the reasons is because it has not been modeled. If you look at the epigenetic nature of white folks, especially European Americans, white American people, there is this long-standing history of violence. And there has been no effort, no intentions, no work for white people to unpack it. So it doesn't really matter what type of community. It doesn't matter what the effort. White people don't have any practice in doing anything that is anti-oppressive. The things they have practiced doing together is violence, right? Is coming together to do what? Overthrow the government. Coming together to do what? Perform a lynching. Coming together to what? Perform violence, win a war, play a game, do a thing, right, to others. What has to happen first and foremost before there's any movement for white folks around change, around justice, around progress, is they have to first unpack that inherent violence that sits in them. Now, they cannot do that, right, unless they're under some sort of leadership, coaching, and mentorship of people who are more marginalized than they are. So what happens in these other spaces where you may have neurodivergent folks or queer folks or, whatever, right? There are all these other marginalized identities that people fail to realize that unless you are black, those other marginalized identities do not outweigh the marginalization of black people. And when black people are queer or neurodivergent or, older or in a fat body or anything else, right, the marginalization is greater than anybody that's white.
Hey! Shut the f*** up!
Alright guys, we're going to be wrapping it up with this clip from this young lady who obviously pays a lot more attention to what the hell's going on out there than the last lady we heard from. Now you can see why I thought that was parody, right? Anyway, this lady talks about the tolerant left, and she makes a lot of valid points. I like ending it on clips sometimes that let us know that there are still some pretty based people out there, that we're not alone. Anyway, guys, things are clearly getting crazy out there, so please take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Till next time, love you guys. Peace. Roll it.
If you don't consider a biological male to be a woman, you're transphobic. If you're a gay man who doesn't want to date or marry a trans man, you're transphobic. If you don't want kids making life-altering decisions that could irreversibly damage their bodies for the rest of their lives, you're transphobic. If you're a biological woman who objects to being called cisgendered, you're a bigot. And if you've transitioned, regretted your medical procedure, and are using your voice and your platform to warn other people about the dangers, you're considered dangerous, a traitor, stupid, and transphobic. Am I missing anything else? The most tolerant group on planet Earth has shown a propensity to cancel, bully, and get violent towards anyone who expresses any type of concern about the community. And if you think it's just straight people who are having issues with these attitudes, you're wrong. Every single day, gays, lesbians, and bisexuals, fed up with the tone and tenor of the LGBTQIA+ community, are announcing that they're either leaving the community entirely or they just don't want any part of it.
Wait a minute. That's the smartest thing I've ever heard anyone say about anything.
And you ain't black.